Recorded in their mother's basement, SuperNerdLand brings you Graded Point 5, where in a comic book it would be worth less than the polybag it comes in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Graded Point 5. I'm your host Jason, and I brought a bunch of shitheads with me. I brought the usual, two of the usuals. I brought Wayne and Piper back. Mostly because Wayne sleeps under my bed and I can't get him to leave.
Look, you said I could move in, chill, hang out.
We have a whole spare room open, dude.
Look, you didn't say where, okay? You didn't say where.
Given that he's a transformer, I thought he'd be in the garage.
Look at when I set up shop, I ain't moving. That's it. I mean, I got my command center and I'm good to go.
And we brought our boss, Josh.
Yeah, I'm some random asshole. What's up?
And we got one of the OGs back. The prodigal son has returned.
As a callback to the second episode of this fucking show we did, fuck you, Jason.
Oh, this is your first episode back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we got Jordan back.
Woo, it's me.
Gorillas in the Mist.
Oh.
Okay, to be fair, chimpanzee in the mist, alright?
Yeah, I mean, he's only half-blooded. I mean,
exactly.
Come on.
See, Wayne gets it.
Yeah.
Alright, before we get going, first off, we're going to spoil a bunch of shit. Second off, subject's going to be X-Men Grand Design. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter if you have anything to say. Like, tell us we're wrong. We are at Graded.5 to spell it out.
Yep. Tell us we're wrong, and we will immediately ignore you because we don't care.
We will post gifts at you.
I will post
usually wrestling gifts,
and I will post bald men at you. So be aware. It's my gimmick.
Just don't steal my screen caps. Delete it.
Oh, that was fun. Anyway.
Alright, so yeah, X-Men Grand Design, done entirely by Ed Piskor, who I had never heard of until this shit, but turns out he did like some hip-hop comics, like the history of hip-hop or some shit. So, like, he just does like this whole thing is a brief, very brief rundown of what, Wayne, X-Men from, 61 to 69?
Yeah, it was like right before
what was it? All new X-Men or
all different, yeah, giant size X-Men essentially.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's basically it's like not just a retelling but a redoing of history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would see it as like Marvel preferred history now.
Yeah, it's a cheap and easy set of retcons to kind of line everything up, and
it was still a period piece though, when you think about it though, because it didn't change like the time periods, because Xavier was still in, he was still a part of the Korean War, and stuff like that. And,
Oh yeah, they even do a great job mimicking the art style of the time. It's absolutely a callback.
Yeah, straight.
That was my favorite part.
I think you could tell through the whole thing that it was a labor of love.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of followed the guy on Twitter while he was making it, and he talked about how this is like a dream project for him. I mean, if you read the backstory, his backstory in the comic.
Yep, that was really interesting.
I mean, he's just like he's age 7. He was playing that god awful NES X-Men game, and I said, "Brother, you are a true fan. If you played that game,
you are a true believer."
Like, dude,
they even show like his old fucking drawings that he did as a kid and his comic covers and shit, and they were adorable.
Yeah.
You want to know the most ridiculous part? And normally I wouldn't even bring this up because it kind of goes a little bit against what I'm trying to go for with the show. But like, I feel like I robbed Marvel on this one because the price I picked this book up at, because I do all my comics digitally now. I paid $3 on Amazon for this, and I feel like I completely took Marvel to the cleaners.
It's like I said, it's been as far as Marvel goes, it's been that book, in my opinion, is kind of a bright spot in what has been a shit show for the last few years.
Yeah.
Of course, it's like I said, it's kind of ironic to get that you had to go back to the old days, Yeah. To get a good story out of it, kind of.
And before we get into the actual contents, I'm going to preface this by saying I am insanely waiting on Second Genesis.
I think that's, I definitely want to check that out now.
For sure.
All right. Let's get into the content. This whole thing is framed by, what was it? Uatu talking to Regelian Recorder, was it 451? Mm-hmm. Classic old school Silver Age characters. Going over the history of mutants.
Which I thought was really interesting. Like, the fact that they brought up the whole, at the beginning, they bring up the Namor story.
Yeah.
That was really cool because, people forget that Namor is a mutant,
Well, they've been pushing that back down people's throats by putting him in X-Men teams.
Well, yeah, true. But, I'm just saying that, even back, I would say as far back as the 90s, people would forget that, Namor was a mutant.
And the big...
One of my real only problems with, especially leading into it at the very beginning, and it really gets alleviated in the second volume, in my opinion, but the first volume, it's kind of like reading a Wikipedia page, and you're about a fourth of the way through, and then it just randomly switches to another Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
And about a fourth of the way through, randomly flip back. But that kind of pacing does get smoothed out, and it's kind of just a product of how condensed this thing has to be.
Yeah.
32 pages per, 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And actually, longer than that, considering the Namor stuff was started back in the fucking 40s.
Yeah. 40s. Yeah. The first was Namor, because that was Namor and the original Android Human Torch.
Yep.
Fight. So.
Yeah, and for those who are wondering, the Namor stuff, him fucking up New York.
Yeah, he drowned New York.
In a big way. In a big fucking way. He's a fucking war criminal.
Yeah. He declared war on the surface dwellers and literally drowned New York.
Yeah.
Which creates the anti-mutant hysteria.
Yeah. Because apparently...
Justifiably.
And I like the way he, Ed, phrased, he kind of, showed it as there was a tenuous, okay, we're here, we know about mutants and we just kind of get along, not really interact. We try to interact as little as possible kind of thing. But, you know what I mean? It was like, there was always an awareness that there were mutants in the world. Instead of just it went from 1940, there's this guy who just drowned New York, to the 60s, okay, here's some new guys.
Yeah, because they did even go back, they touched on a little bit of stuff from, even, 1800s and earlier, there was a mutant here, and there was this guy, and there was this guy, so it was interesting. I liked it. That introduction of it.
They even reference World War II with Cap and Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, what was that? Uncanny 289?
Yep.
And that's how they also slyly introduced Magnus.
Yeah.
I like how they called him Magnus. That was, to me, that's a treat because not many people know, Magneto's real name was not uttered in X-Men until the 90s.
And then in the 2010s, that was proved to be an alias. So Magneto's gone through 4 different quote-unquote real names.
Yeah.
First it was Magnus.
Then it was Eric Lensher.
Eric Lensher, which was an alias. And his real name is Max Eisenhart.
Makes sense.
Real name, quote unquote.
Yeah. But like I said, even then we don't know if that's going to be true or not. But
yeah, that's what happens when you go through multiple writers.
Yep.
I mean, with so many aliases, it's a good thing he has a number on his arm.
Right. Fuck, dude, that's dark but true.
Oof. Anyway.
Almost like they should register mutants. But
thinking Smiley.
I want to soapbox for a second here, and I think you're going to really feel me on this one, Wayne.
Okay.
I miss the days when writers had a decade plus to plot out their continuity.
I agree with that.
Instead of every 6 to 8 months switching up the teams.
Yeah.
I think about, and this is a single, it's like I said, just to throw this in there. It was a single character but look at what Peter David did. What was it, like 15 years uninterrupted?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's insane these days. You know, some of these guys are lucky if they get 4 issues. You know,
And how many did Chris Claremont do X-Men?
oh hell, let's see. He
It had to
started.
have been like 12.
Yeah, I would say because he started in like the 80, maybe 84, and he went to 91, 92.
Like, that's what I know of X-Men. That was essentially my introduction was
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, like you said, you know, you got, like, that was when things, you know, you plotted up, like you were talking about, they plotted them out and shit, and they had time to do it, you know?
Right.
You knew you didn't, you know, and they had kind of had at least somewhat of a feeling that, oh, the rug's not going to be pulled out from under me anytime, you know, at a moment's notice kind of thing.
And there was kind of like an air of, you don't fuck with the continuity.
Right.
You don't retcon someone else's shit
Right.
unless it's a legitimate problem that they wrote. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. I really wish they would stick to that. And then talking comics wouldn't be so confusing with other people.
Right.
Exactly right. Holy fuck.
But yeah, this goes through all of it, like Xavier growing up, you know, living with Kane Marco.
About how Kane Marco, like, pretty much early on wanted to kill Charles.
Yep.
And the whole time, so, you know, the whole time I'm thinking when I'm watching it, like, Charles, I'm gonna choke you out, Charles. Get out of my head, Charles.
Charles, no!
Charles, no, it done got my head.
Fucking Christ.
But yeah, I'm gonna assume, probably wrongly, that people who actually are listening to this have a working idea of the X-Men story.
Yeah. Like, some of the things that changed, like, one of the things I kind of did not like, you know, let's kind of start with our negatives and then move on from there. One thing I did not like was the whole, you know, that period where the X-Men, you know, where Charles, they thought he was dead.
Yeah.
But then you find out, no, they knew the whole time.
That was bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because that was a pivotal thing in the comic, like in the original comic. They were...
Let me stop you for 1 second, because this is entirely tied to it. Why the fuck was Changeling a robot?
Right? Changeling's supposed to be a fucking
A reformed villain.
A former mutant villain, yeah, and it wasn't that he was, because they made it seem like you know, Ed, and I like say, you know, I like most of what he did, but he made it seem like Charles imprinted upon him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Xavier, it was like basically basically took over his mind. You know,
And this is where I'll say that, like, I do think this has a very narrow-focused appeal to where, like, people who don't know anything about X-Men, this product isn't really going to do much for them. And I think people who are, like, really super deep into the shit, it may not even be for them because it changes enough for it to be like, these aren't little moments that you change.
I'll tell you exactly who this fucking comic is for. It's assholes like me who didn't actually read the comics and spent 16 fucking hours in one day reading up on Wikipedia pages. No, seriously,
that. I mean, like, people who got in with like one section of X-Men or one section of like that timeline, but didn't read before or after, and you can kind of
like they jumped in the 80s or 90s or 2000s or something like that.
Actually,
But this worked out for me because I jumped in the 80s, and then if I wanted backstory, I was using like wikis and stuff like that if I wanted more explanation or more backstory. So the changeling thing didn't upset me, but the whole them knowing he was dead the whole time did. Like,
Now, Josh, there's another type of person this actually goes for. People like me who are into alternate reality comics with a heavy emphasis on world building.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, fuck, we did what? 12, 13 episodes, 14 episodes of just alternate reality shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to view this as canon. I don't think this is like. I don't think this is. Yeah, I don't think this is meant to be placed in canon.
Considering like all the intricate workings and the backstories building to Phoenix, that was never there in the original.
Yeah, and that was another like this like nitpicky stuff. When Charles died, and all of a sudden Nick Fury shows up in the mansion. Nick Fury wasn't even a character at that point.
He was from the 40s and shit.
Yeah, but he wasn't. There was no Shield.
Shield didn't. Well, I think actually there was Shield, but Shield didn't interact with the X-Men that much.
Right.
Yeah.
And plus, I think Shield at the time was run by Tony.
Like the X-Men interacted with the FBI.
Yeah. Yeah, they were more like on the low government. I mean, it sounds weird when I say low government talking about the FBI, but in the Marvel in Marvel Universe, yes, that's exactly what I mean, because there's basically like your low level FBI, CIA, stuff like that. Then you get to Shield, and you're in a whole new world essentially. So, but yeah, that was kind of weird. And of course, the government just knows he's not really dead. Like, what's he really doing? When we're talking about he's dead. Like, how about you? I was like, how about you just blast him to smithereens? How about that, Cyclops? Once again, Cyclops fails to do something right.
Like, there's one thing about this I really do like.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the original comics, most of this shit was told in flashbacks and retcons.
Yep.
This solidifies it into one working timeline. It's like, here's all the continuity implants from God. 70s, 80s, 90s, and even some stuff from the 2000s is in here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does kind of... It's a more favorable retelling of the timeline in retrospect to what they've built up over the decades that is the past.
Mm-hmm.
So they can make it seem more like it was like, oh, we planned all of this.
It basically, essentially, it made it like, for example, the Phoenix. It didn't seem like just an ass pull.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they brought in shit with the Starjammers. Yeah.
Yep. And I think because they kind of established that Cyclops had a brother in his story, at the beginning instead of
him randomly having one way later.
Yeah.
By the way, guys.
Yeah, by the way, and what was funny is like I think I'm right. Jason might correct me on this, but I think I'm correct that Scott forgot he had a brother for a while.
Two. He forgot he had two because remember he did know about Vulcan too.
Yeah, exactly. But especially, just going from Alex at least. He pretty much forgot that he even had a brother because of his injury from the plane crash.
Mm-hmm. He's a partial amnesiac.
Yeah. Like knew his name and stuff like that, but forgot he had a brother. Kind of.
Yeah. And I like the fact they implanted the shit from the 80s and 90s with Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like I like that.
Yeah.
Like, he was manipulating things even back then. And what was another they showing the thing with Shadow King. A little brief. But then again, if you're looking at it from if it was like from our perspective, you're just seeing these two dudes staring at each other, and then one falls over.
Just keels over and fucking.
Yeah, exactly. Which in the astral plane probably took like hours and hours, maybe days, but here it's just like a couple of minutes.
Oh, fat man got tired. Oh,
yeah. Farouk, my son.
Barack, go boom.
Farouk, my rotund son. But
and I like the fact they didn't shy away from even having Master Man in here. Prominent Nazi character.
Right.
But I was like, oh hey, well yeah, he did exist though. Okay.
Nazi man. Those Nazis weren't very clever with their naming.
Master Man.
Master Man, that's what it was. I would have called him Nazi Man because that would have been funny.
Wouldn't it have been better if they called him Master Race Man? Just saying. Just
funny, a little too on the nose.
Funny part is he was a cyborg.
He was blonde hair, blue eyes.
So it's like he's not even like a good Master Race. They had to improve on him.
Yeah, they had to head shit.
It's like Mark II, man.
But they didn't think to make him immune to magnetics or shit like that.
Make this fucker out of plastic.
Like that one Sentinel.
And another cool continuity implant was Warren Worthington's time as the Avenging Angel before he came to the X-Men.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Considering that was all told later, too.
Yeah, where he had like a brief career as a crime fighter before joining the X-Men, yeah. I think people forget like that Warren is he's a bit older than the other guys.
He was supposed to be like 17, 18, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He was like a little bit older. It's like, I think Bobby was the youngest.
He was 14.
Yeah, he's the enlightened senior, Worthington.
Yeah, and then, actually, I think Hank would have probably been the oldest, wouldn't he? Because he was like in college. I mean, it seemed like, or was it high school?
He was in high school still.
Okay, that was high school. Okay.
He was a high school senior, yeah.
All right. That still would have put him in 17, 18.
Yeah.
They never really established how old Jean was when she...
15, I want to say.
Okay, that sounds about right.
They had Scott getting pretty close to 17, 18 too, because he was supposed to be the oldest in, Adam is the oldest in whatever the fuck he was in.
The
orphanage or whatever.
Magneto being bad, but Xavier was just raising child soldiers, man. Jeez.
Right.
Who was the real villain of the story?
I mean... I said, I think that story has been told at some point. It's like, because, Magneto's just like, I just want to, go get fuck off, conquer the world, or just go fuck off somewhere on an asteroid. This nigga over here raising child soldiers and trying to...
fucking indoctrinating them into his ideology.
It kind of goes down to the, I always love when you things that make you question, who's really the villain and who's the hero and stuff like that, because everybody's the hero to them
in their own story. Yeah. It was brought up when remember when Moira found out what Charles was doing with Jean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jean nuked the fuck out.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at it practically, like if we're on the practical ground level of this, I could understand considering Jean's power level.
Yeah.
She's an Omega level mutant, so...
But yeah, Xavier just mind wipes people, man.
Yeah, that's another thing. He just, because the thing was, if you remember, in normal issues of X-Men, it was that's one of the things he hates to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They always made it like he had scruples. It's like, I really don't want to do this, but...
I'll do it if I have to.
Right. But in this one, he's just like, whatever.
He's doing it left and right.
If they
mind wipe.
If they do Second Genesis and we find out he was responsible for Wolverine losing his memories, I would go ape.
Well, no, dude, it's like, here's the Xavier protocols, man. If my child soldiers can't beat it, I'll mind wipe it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Not even lying.
Yeah.
Because he became the trump card in their battles in this book. He was like, anytime there's something they couldn't deal with, they'd call him in and he would make him a stuttering retard.
Yeah.
Like, there's only a few, of course, he did it. No, actually, he did it to Kane, too. He did it to Juggernaut. And then he tried to rehab Juggernaut, too, after the fact, and he's like, no, get away from me.
Charles, get my head.
Where the fuck you going, child? Beat the shit out your ass.
But this is so fucking dense.
Yeah, that's kind of the I have a similar complaint Josh had. It's like it could have stood on a it could have, what is it, like 64 pages of the main story. That could have stood to be like probably 120 pages, in all honesty.
I could have dealt with that.
Just a little bit, maybe double the size, get some more.
It's one of those things where it's good for the confines of the space that they have, but boy howdy, like you had said, Wayne, fucking good thing you had read it the night before instead of the day of, so you could
orbit,
let everything kind of decompress in your brain because you just took in a bunch of shit.
That's the problem I'm having, is I read it right before this show. I didn't actually finish either.
Oh, fuck.
Professionalism.
It's dense.
Right?
Dense.
I stopped on my favorite, what's got to be my favorite line out of the entire thing, though.
What's that?
The alien fleet doesn't stand a chance against the typhoon of thought power concentrated directly from Earth. I started laughing, and I stopped right there, and I started giggling, and then I realized what time it was, so I needed to hop in here. But yeah, I stopped because I started giggling because I'm like, yeah, fucking thought power.
You're not too far from the end there, though, so that's
Yeah, a lot of the other pages were like how the project came together and showing the early work of the artists and writers and producers and shit.
Oh, sweet. All right. So
and then a reprint of X-Men #1.
Okay.
Yeah, it literally
Also,
just
Yes,
X-Men
for the
#1.
record, we are all reading the paperback version. The trade.
because didn't he like recolor it too? For
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, for yeah. Yeah, that's that was, I remember that. I was like, really? Thought power.
My favorite line. I started laughing and I had to stop.
I just like
People of Earth, give me the power of your thoughts.
so they basically formed a spirit bomb and projected it through Cyclops' eyes.
Oh, and God, did I love how they made Bobby look like a total fucking prick.
Right? Yeah. He's just always a dick. Like, you know.
Like, fucking, you know how, like, he just, like, completely steals Alex's girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, damn, dog. What about like the little guest star stuff? Like you got, you know, like your little baby Rogue, like, you know, wanting to go to.
Oh yeah, I thought that was cute.
Yeah, baby Rogue wanting to go to the Savage Land and shit. You know? That was another interesting thing, you know, the Savage Land. You know, how they brought that in.
Yeah.
Fucking.
And Genosha.
Oh yeah, and Genosha too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I kind of liked in this, and you know, one thing I thought was really cool, you know, is that they just made Jean just like a fucking badass.
Mm-hmm.
She's sitting there with her arms crossed, just doing shit. Like she's literally, I don't give a fuck.
Like a boss.
Yeah, it's like, even though she's like, you know, we know for a fact that she has like mental, you know, barriers in place to kind of keep her in check. She's still a boss, you know. Like, so
Yeah.
it's like, what was the character that Magneto like turned into a mutant? The woman, the female.
Lorelei,
And did, you know, everybody else is like, they're all like, she said, I guess I had to deal with this, and she just started making Cyclops use his Optic Blast. And oh, by the way, don't you like the fact that she was able to use Cerebro better than Xavier did?
Yeah.
Super quick.
Yeah. And the way she just is on it, you know, like he's all there concentrating, and she's just like got her arms crossed, or you know, legs crossed, and she's like,
Yeah.
You can tell that they have a reverence for Jean Grey, I think.
Yeah.
Like they were so happy when she came back to the team. They're like, oh, thank God, Jean's back.
and they wrote out.
We weren't shit without you.
I just realized something. Remember when Xavier faked dying and was taken by, you know, his role was taken over by Changeling?
Yeah.
That was to stop an alien race called like the Xenox or some shit like that.
Yeah.
In this, it's rewritten to be the Shi'ar.
Yeah, that is weird.
Well, again, it's to streamline the Phoenix stuff.
Yeah. I like the fact that they made the Phoenix so revered by other races that they actually tracked the entity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty neat.
And I loved, like, I'm looking through the back stuff, like the Dream Project shit. They got his old collection of X-Men toys.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here looking at them like, I had so many of these.
I had that one.
Yeah.
That was me. I was like,
I had that Apocalypse. I had that Strong Guy, that Long Shot.
Yep, that was exactly what I was
saying. Banshee. Both of those cables. The Spy Wolverine there, Sauron, Juggernaut, Archangel, Weapon X, Grizzly.
Yeah, even Grizzly, because, you know, why not, right?
W Bridge, yeah. I had all those.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I mean, like I said, you know, aside from the pacing and stuff, I enjoyed it overall for what it was. Like I said, those little niggling things. I mean,
yeah,
like
all in all, I don't regret reading it.
Right.
I don't know if I'll be in a hurry to go back and read it again, but for what it is, it's nice. And like, if you want to, I would get the physical copy if you can, because that seems to me like the draw for it being kind of this this kind of thing that more of a collector's kind of thing.
Oh my God, I love his drawings of Wolverine.
I know, right? They're adorable. They're adorable.
I like how he's just have like it's like even then as a kid he knew because there's like 5 different Wolverines in these panels.
Yeah.
It's like he knows. He knew the deal. He knew the fucking deal.
This actually is very similar to when I was a kid and tried to draw comics.
So yeah, Jordan, you've been strangely cultivating a good taste in comics while you're away. What's your take?
I like how it's strangely. It's like all of a sudden he has taste. What the hell?
Yeah.
When I was gone for a year dealing with my fucking mental illness, I stopped having shitty taste in comics, I guess.
Well, that, one of the things getting your mind right is like finding good shit.
Yeah, that's true. I think the thing I enjoy the most about this is the throwback to when Marvel was actually good at telling fucking stories. Like, we all know that X-Men has always been an allegory for racial minorities and gay people and all that sort of shit. And, of course, with cultivating better taste in comics, I still like to read shitty stuff to laugh at it.
Right. Yeah, who doesn't? I mean,
It amazes me how, these stories that were told 50 fucking years ago and that are being retold now have so much more of a careful craftsmanship in how they address very, very touchy subjects, such as discrimination, compared to what you're going to see in modern comics made for a quote-unquote modern audience. It reminded me of why I liked the X-Men to begin with. Because, it's a story that anybody can really appreciate. And I'll agree that the pacing's a little bit off, but me being the fucker that I am, I was like, oh, I remember reading that on the fucking wiki. Oh, I remember reading that on the fucking wiki. So I was like...
It was a wiki with pictures. So you were enjoying this. It was
pretty
great.
much.
Yeah.
But I do understand, for a lot of people, if you don't have the time to put mind that I do, where I'll literally dedicate a day to just dive into one facet of Marvel or DC Comics.
Well, see, the problem is I have a job.
Listen here, cunt. I also have.
Ladies.
You're both pretty, all right?
Yeah, you're both pretty.
Well, But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this. I actually read this once the other day, and then I think twice before I went into work today, just to kind of really wrap my mind around all the things I wanted to say about it. And there's a lot of little touches that they kind of throw in there that I think are really interesting, like the handful of panels where they show off Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting.
We keep saying they, and it's one dude.
Well, one dude, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically it is they because he had a group of people who were helping him collect all the stories that he end up making into this book. So that's what I mean when I say they.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. It's fucking good. Aside from a little bit of pacing issues, it's just fucking good.
The one little segment where Magneto and Charles are playing chess,
mm-hmm.
and kind of like talking about and they always if anybody knows the story, Stan Lee always said that Charles and Magneto were his allegories for Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yeah,
the extremes of the thing, of race relations and stuff like that. And you could see that play out because, Charles says, "Well, why can't we just all live together?" And then, Magneto's just like, "Well, why don't we just kill them all and take over?" Like, well, wait, whoa.
Not a lot of gray area here.
They're both kind of the same, right?
Well, it's like they want the same thing, but they want it a different way,
Right.
Like one wants to dominate and one wants to coexist, and that's kind of that's basically.
Well, even to the point where he's like, "I'm gonna fucking force people to be mutants."
Yeah, it's like, if it's like the whole thing from remember the villain from Incredibles, and when everybody's super, nobody is,
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think it speaks a lot to the vastly different experiences they had dealing with being different because. While both of them have powers that are easily enough hidden, Magnus didn't really have that ability to hide that, hide how different he was being in, a place that was occupied by Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
He was kind of thrust into a whole bunch of bad shit, and when you pay attention to his growth throughout this, it's just at every fucking turn, he's getting his shit kicked in.
Yeah.
Like when he was trying to get money from the farmer who was only paying him half of what he was getting all the other farm hands, the point where he has to fucking brandish a pitchfork at him. He's like, I just want what I'm owed. And then he fucking gets the shit kicked out of him, and then they fucking torch his house and kill his family.
Yeah, that's like oh wow, this went really bad really quickly.
Yeah, it's like that
escalated quickly.
It's like that went from 0 to
That's
60
when you roll
really
a natural
fucking
fucking one.
And it's one of those things where I look at him, I go, you know what? No, I get it. Just kill them all. Like
yeah. When you look at it from his perspective, you're like, you know what? I could understand why he'd want to nuke us from orbit. You know,
Well, he already started from a persecuted group of humans at that point too, and that's when he discovered that he was technically part of an even more persecuted.
he was
group.
a minority in a minority.
Yeah.
That's so. It was just like
So he's already kind of got this mentality instilled in him.
He's kind of like those people,
and then
kind of like those people who are like, I'll do anything to protect my people or my family. And his idea of I will do anything is I will do anything to protect my family and my people, and that literally means I will kill every motherfucker that tries to come against my family. And he sees that as the governments of the world are trying to kill my people, so I'm going to kill them first. Kind of thing, and I, like I said, to that degree, considering his life experience, I get it.
Yeah.
With Charles, he had similar but not as extreme problems, because his was just like he had loss, but his loss was like almost like freak accident losses. Like when his parents got killed, that was just like
and
because
he was definitely a nice, sheltered.
Yeah. I hate
saying privileged because it's so overused, but he was in a mansion.
Yeah, because he was allowed to work. He was allowed
wealthy
to
and shit.
He was allowed to school at home and stuff like that because he couldn't. Because I like the excuse it was the headaches, but it was really because he was hearing everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, but see, and that power is easier to hide too.
Yeah. Well, also that power brings with it the advantage of if he was ever put between a rock and a hard place and he needed to get out of it, he can just take over somebody's fucking mind. He doesn't have the same issues that Magnus would with trying to coexist.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario goes, oh, you don't accept my philosophy? All right, your brain's fucking gone. Now you do.
Or just honestly, just rewrite your way of thinking in general. And you love this idea.
Yeah.
Well, like in that situation, like where Magnus, didn't get his money, for the work he did. Like Charles could have just like, oh yeah, you're giving me your money. Oh yes, here's the money. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just realized another little continuity implant in here, Wayne. Back before they even met Magneto, or the very earliest shit, they show them delivering a Thanksgiving dinner to a sewer pipe.
Yep,
There's
and
a
it's
big
the
blue guy.
Murlocs.
Yeah, it's Callisto.
Yep, and it's the friggin' Murlocs.
That was a nice
Murlocs.
Morlocks, excuse me. I was playing WoW earlier. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna hold on, wait a minute.
Warlocks. You got to get my enunciations right. Excuse me.
But it's still amazing that when you think back, really, really far back, the farther back you think, the more closed-minded you think that America by itself was. In terms of acceptance or equality and stuff like that, but the classic X-Men are the finest example of addressing those issues without punching you in the face with it, where you still feel like you're reading a story.
Yeah.
So
instead of
just
reading
by the actual tolerant left,
right?
Well, as I explained,
and I think you absorb things and ideas and this and that a lot better when you're not being like force-fed them. You're less resistant. It's entertainment to you, and you don't realize, especially if you're growing up with them, that you're adopting these ways of viewing things.
You can totally have allegories that aren't ham-fisted.
Yeah.
This is, that kind of goes to a situation, and it's amazing that he was able to write this story considering what he does now. But when Joss Whedon wrote Astonishing X-Men, that's basically what they were doing was, the X-Men decided that we need to be superheroes. We need to show the world that we're trying to help and not, just trying to be mutants and take over and, crap like that, Like I said, considering he actually wrote a good story is amazing. But
right? What happened to that guy?
Well, he really likes women. I mean,
yeah.
really, really likes women.
I can tell you what happened. Every time he cheated on his wife, he lost his ability to write.
Ooh.
God, you're saying he had some kind of monkey paw contract? It's like, okay, you can have relations outside your marriage, but be warned,
you lose something very valuable.
There's a cost.
your talent, the thing that made you who you are, you will lose. No, yeah, but it's a similar situation where it's like, I think I've always saw it as like, Charles did the X-Men to like protect humanity from the bad elements in the mutant community, but also to show, hey, we're not all, it ain't just like we're all crazy, with powers and things like that. We're actually just people just like you. We just want to.
Hashtag not all mutants.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
God damn it.
Well, it brings up something interesting. That was one of the main things that he had brought up when they were first messing around with Cerebro, that if you can find a mutant quick enough so they're not completely obsessed with their powers, you can set them on the right path. Mm-hmm. After he had that event in Cairo.
Right.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like when they brought Mimic in, Jason, you might know better. Did Mimic didn't die originally, did he? I want to say he lived and just ended up becoming a villain. Anyway, after like joining up with the X-Men for a little bit.
Well, this version of the story doesn't kill him even. It just takes his powers.
Oh, that's right. They took his powers away. I don't think he lost his powers, though. But anyway, that was a little minor thing.
I will say, if you're the type of person that's going to nitpick every little bit of the X-Men storytelling, you're going to get OCD about it. This might not be for you.
I don't know. That's fun. That's fun for some people. With the grain of
salt and just roll with it as a story being told around a campfire, essentially. It's pretty good.
Yeah, like I said, it was a good story. It's just, like I said, just from my knowing the continuity, probably like Jordan, talking about like reading the wikis and stuff. He's like, wait a second,
He didn't get killed, but he did get depowered.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to make sure that the real that scenario happened in the ways, essentially.
Ah.
Because I know it was only in Exiles where they had the version of Mimic who, when he came in contact with Xavier, he actually did turn his life around.
Yeah.
Calvin Rankin. That's a good name too. Calvin Rankin.
Al Franken. What?
But no. No, this guy's actually entertaining.
Probably about the same level of politician, though.
Yeah. But considering he could change his mutant powers at will, because he could, mimic other people's mutant powers, it's kind of like what a politician does. I'll just take this stance on the issue. I'm going to take the exact opposite stance because it's popular right now.
But yeah. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the next set. Yeah,
I think Second Genesis is going to be nice. I think now he's got a feel. You can tell by the second, like Josh said, by the second issue, he kind of got his flow.
Yeah.
So I think,
for sure, yeah. Like the jerkiness of the first part is not really as present in the second part. That's for sure.
But like for me, now go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was easier to follow and felt a little more like a comic in the second one than the first one, which did feel like a wiki with pictures.
Well, that's good, Piper, because you don't know how to read either.
But I read that one part, my favorite part about the thoughts.
Didn't actually read that. It was just teleported directly into your mind because you are a thought.
No.
All I had to do was look at the pictures and see that Jean Grey was there, and I knew.
Did you when you saw Jean Grey at first? Did you go? Mm-hmm.
To be fair, everybody knows Piper's a mutant anyway. No one gets titties that big without, like, some kind of mental drawback.
God damn it.
Damn.
See, now I'm sitting here, I'm just going like, I didn't even realize her titties were that big.
Well, not compared to the anime and shit you watch.
Okay, never mind then. I'm no longer interested.
Oh.
Jesus. Where did this go? And now let me tell you about why Braun Strowman is awesome. Because honestly, that's usually how this goes. We start talking about wrestling for no reason.
Oh, speaking of which, checked in with Evan today.
Okay.
Yeah. Sat around talking wrestling.
Nice. Just a lad.
Yeah.
He was good for those Hellboy episodes where we were all like, where eventually we were like, Well, you know, I'm not saying it's bad, but you know, it's like you said, when you stick to one thing too long. You know, it's bad when me and Daryl just won't even read in the last few episodes.
We don't need to read this shit to talk about it, do we? I mean, we don't need to talk about it, do we?
So I was like, I remember one day, it was like before Jason had jumped online, I was like, Daryl, yeah, did you read the issue? He said, no. I said, neither did I.
And dude, he came to me, he's like, did you read the issues? I'm like,
Hellboy. Morale was low.
Fuck, I still need to read it.
We were all just kind of reading along. It was literally, Evan was narrating, and we were just like, interesting,
Y'all make me feel like an overachiever saying I can't read and shit. I at least look at the pictures.
Oh, we could read. We just, we just need audible.com to tell us how to do it.
Insert audible.com ad here. Imaginary affiliate.
Jesus.
Hey, man, you make bank doing Audible, man. Come on.
I've talked to you all about fucking affiliation shit.
You go to audible.com/Godzilla is awesome.
Now let me just introduce people to the idea of ripped apparel. Like, go check them out. Like, if you all actually like that type of shit, we can make money off of ripped apparel because they have some cool shit.
I thought you said
R.I.P.T. apparel.
I thought at first you said that cup of shit. I'm like, what? Ripped apparel. Here's your cup of shit.
But no, like, I've debated these things over the time. Then I just never did anything about them.
Sounds about right.
No life, essentially.
Geeky limited edition pop culture graphic tees. Is that all it is?
Yeah. Damn, dog. Just that's it. She's like, that's it.
T-shirts.
Wow, Discord is
that is
completely
pretty
down.
funny.
That's not the only thing.
They're funny, nerdy T-shirts.
Yeah. We need to get in an affiliate with Comixology, man. Get us some free comics.
Yeah.
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 Get affiliated with TriStar Pictures so I could be in the next Godzilla movie. Had a slight obsession this weekend. I want to binge watch all the Godzilla movies.
You can make sure to watch Shin Godzilla, right?
Yes, of course.
Negro, you better. It's like the best Godzilla
It's on the
movie.
Plex. I still need to watch that myself. It's on my own.
I am sorry, sir, but I don't think you said Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Okay, look. Negro. Fucking in Shin Godzilla, he literally mutates like 5 fucking times. It's amazing.
Yeah, but in Godzilla vs. Hedorah, he fucking flies.
I don't care about the nigga flying, alright?
But you got to see it. It's great.
I've seen every Godzilla movie. Believe me.
He's flying though. It's awesome.
I'm probably the only person who likes Godzilla more than
I mean, it's a lot cooler than RoboCop flying.
Hey now. Nigga, don't be talking about me and my Godzilla clout.
All I'm saying is the only person in this room right now who is more gay for Godzilla than Wayne is probably me.
Now, Wayne and I have had this discussion many nights.
Yeah.
I made for a three-way tie.
Three-way tie. Yeah. Well, okay, guys, it's fine.
I think we can all agree you're all equally gay.
Yeah.
Look, guys, it's fine. Okay, we'll jerk off in a circle later. Bury the hatchet. It'll be fine.
Dude, there's only 3 of us. That's not a circle. It's a triangle.
I can send y'all some pictures
Goddamn.
of iguanas fucking if that helps.
It may be a circle.
Yeah.
Well, that depends. I mean, am I the only person whose dick has this weird, like, left-leaning curve? Because all 3 of us got that. We can do that circle, make it happen.
This episode took a left turn.
This is a point where we're done with the book and we just start talking random shit. And the female's like,
Very confused.
The female.
Yeah, it's because it's like she can't do the same kind of jokes because then she's got like what? How many males are here? 4 attentive males just like leaning heavily into their microphone, like, tell me more.
Hold on, let me get my lips.
I just want Piper. I was hoping that during that whole thing she would just go, yeah, penises.
Penises, my clit.
How much hair do you have?
How much hair?
Oh, you're covered in it.
Say Monka.
Jesus Christ. Fucking shit.
Oh God.
Okay, so do we plan on talking about any more about this book, or can I go on another tangent?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Okay, so I just wanna say I still don't fucking forgive you for making me read the 5th Beatle, you son of a fucking bitch.
Dude, that was like a year and a half ago.
I don't care. You told me it's one of like the most listened to episodes, so I'm gonna fucking milk this shit.
Oh God. What was it again?
The Fifth Beatle, the 2nd episode.
It was the worst fucking thing ever. It was like,
oh no, dude, it hasn't aired yet, but last week's episode though.
Oh shit.
Bad? Oh, I wasn't here. Yeah, so,
yeah. It was just me, Piper, and Daryl.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like the only one that read it.
No, I had read it.
Oh, okay.
I finished like 2 minutes before the show started, but I read it.
I was going to read it, but then I got my head, the headache.
Yeah. Well, dude, you had the tooth pulled. You have an excuse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my thing, and at the same time, I said this is like some furry stuff. I don't know about this.
It was.
What?
It was some.
Going totally by the title. I'm just joking.
I can't remember which one of you two was obsessed with the werewolf's nipples.
That was Daryl.
Of course, it was Daryl.
That sounds like a Daryl thing.
Check it out. She's got 6 nipples.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That sounds like Daryl, yeah.
That's an important detail, though, because that seems like it only make any sense if that werewolf was a female.
Yeah.
I'm just hold on. I'm just imagining the whole episode. Daryl's going nipples, nipples.
You're not too far off.
Yeah.
It is literally what you expect.
He's like, it's everything you expected, and you were still disappointed.
Notice it's only white Americans who complain about the fecal matter on the streets of San Francisco. White entitlement again. What the fuck? That was fucking shocking.
God damn it, woman. Stop fucking browsing Twitter while we're doing a show.
Sorry.
What the fuck are you doing?
I do that every show.
Well, I was, that's nothing. I saw that old dude I follow on Twitter. He fucking said that California is entirely covered with a film of shit. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Well, until they make Harvey Weinstein move out. All right. It's getting to be that time. Thank you for dealing with us for this long. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you for dealing with us for this long. We'll see y'all next week. Be sure to hit us up at Twitter at graded.5. Tell us how horrible people we are. And yeah. Jesus Christ.